Hey guys, it's Sydney again, and today we're doing something a little bit different than we did in the last two videos. We are going to make a macrame hanging planter. And these are all the supplies that you're going to need. So I'm going to show you this. This is the diamond braid clothesline here. This is actually just from Walmart. It's actually not macrame. And the reason is because apparently macrame is impossible to find unless you're willing to wait 3.5 weeks for something to come from Etsy. But I have found that this works wonders. This is amazing, and it's like $5 at Walmart, and it's about 100 feet. So you should be able to get a really large hanging planter from this, or maybe two small ones if you don't want them as large or as long as we're going to make mine. You're going to need some little rings like this. You can just get them either at your craft store, or you can even get them, you can get something like this at a Ace Hardware, or even Walmart carries these. You can get a full ring, like a full circle, or a half ring. This is called a D-ring, and obviously you just get however many that you would like to make. You're going to need some scissors. You're going to need a little door hanger here. This is going to help you really tie the knots and be able to really just pull on things a little bit better. You can also use jute, so instead of using this, like I recommended, you can use this. It will just give you a little bit more of a, rustic or bohemian style vibe, and this is going to give you a more true macrame looking planter. You can get a much tighter knot with this one. These ones, it looks a little bit better if the knots are a little bit looser, and we will go through all of this, so let's get into it. So first things first, what you're going to do is you are going to grab your end, and you're going to want to cut it to your desired length. And that all depends on what you really want. So do you want something that's really long, or do you want something that's a little bit shorter and closer to your ceiling, or do you want something that is, really long and elaborate? I tend to favor the more long and elaborate ones, and this is going to require a lot more rope. But like I said, these are very cheap, so you don't have to worry about breaking the bank, and they look magnificent. So you're going to do about 4 yards and 10 inches for each rope, and you're going to cut 8 of these. So I have already cut a pre-measured one, so I'm just going to measure these out to the same length. You can do 6 ropes or 8 ropes. 8 ropes is going to allow you to get a 4-arm macrame hanging planter. A 6 string is only going to get you a 3-arm planter, because what you're going to end up doing is you're going to take, say I have all 6 strings here, you're going to end up actually doubling them. So you're going to go ahead and basically fold them in half and get them almost equal. But you need 4 strings per arm. So obviously, depending on how many arms you would like, you need to account for how many strings that you need. Okay everybody, so what you're going to do is I just went ahead and pre-cut my strings so that it was a little bit easier for you guys to follow. So you're going to cut 8 strings, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And as you can see, they're not perfect. It's not a exact science or anything. It is okay if they're not all the same length. Don't worry, it will work out, I promise. It will look great. So what we're going to do is we're going to take one of our rings. So it depends on what you're wanting, obviously. I'm going to use a black ring because it goes with my color scheme. And we are going to thread this through all 8 strings, okay? So it looks like that right now. And then what we are going to do is we are going to feed this loop all the way until it's halfway through all of the length of the string. Okay, so now that we've found the halfway point, we have just threaded it through, and now all the ends are at the exact same length together. So now we are going to need a loop here at the top. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to take a string right here and we're going to loop it around, and this is going to create the top of your macrame hanging basket so that none of the knots that you do from here on out will unravel or anything. None of the knots will unravel, and you'll have a very sturdy and pleasant macrame hanging plant. And it won't come crashing down in the middle of the night. So what you're going to do for the next step is you're going to need the extra that you have on your little roll here. And you're going to need about 2 yards, maybe 1.5 yards or so. You don't need a ton. And you're just going to cut that. So you're going to take this and you're going to go with the string here. You're going to go up, and the strings are all going up as well. And you're going to make a loop here. Do you see that? So I have this end up here, and now I have a loop down here. And it doesn't really matter how big your loop is. That's a pretty good size. It's about 1 inch or 2. And you are going to now start wrapping this string, the remaining part of your string, around all of your 8 strings. And you're going to do this pretty tightly, okay? So that anything that you do from here on out will not come crashing down. So as you can see, I still have my loop and I still have my remaining end here. This is all the same string. So once you get it to how many times around that you would like it, you are going to go ahead and you're going to put this remaining string through the loop like this. You can see that. The end of my wrapping around string comes through this loop right here. Then, next up, we are going to take the top string that is still remaining and sticking out, and we are going to pull. We're going to pull this string, and as you can see, when we pull that, the loop actually gets smaller, and it is going to wrap that loose end and is going to pull it into these. So as you can see, that's right before I start pulling a little bit harder. And we're going to pull really, really tight. And we're going to get that loose end all the way into the wrapped around part. This is what your first knot is going to look like. I don't know if I qualify it as a knot, more as a, starting. But this is what you're going to start with. And you're going to go ahead and snip these off whenever you would like. I tend to leave them till the very end when I do all the rest of my trimming. They don't really get in my way, but I also like to make sure that I trim the same side. So we do the same knot at the very bottom, and I like to make sure that this is also the same side so that this can go in the back. and I want to make sure that this is on the same side as the bottom knot so that I don't have, you know, a little bit of a straggler showing here. That would be not as cute. So then our next step is going to be, we're going to use this little door hanger here. And this is a trick that I have actually used, I came up with myself. And you're going to hook this through the little ring that you're using. So now all your cords are together as one. And you're going to use a desk, a table, a door. Obviously this is a door hanger. But I'm going to use my desk here. And I'm going to have it secured here just like this, so that no matter what, when I'm pulling and doing the knots, I don't have to worry about anything else. And your next step is you're going to actually go ahead and do your first knots. So this seems a lot harder than it actually is, and once you get the hang of it, it's really, really very easy. So what you're going to do is, mine's going to have 4 arms here. If you have a 3 arm, then you'll only have 6 strings here. But what you're going to do is you're going to section off your strings into groups of 4 strings here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 strings right here. And I'm going to go ahead and move all my other strings over to the side so that I don't have them in my way. There's my little end to my loop up here. So now I have 4 strings, and we're going to go ahead and do our very first type of knot. So what we do here is called either a square knot or a full stitch knot. What you're going to do is you're going to have 2 middle pieces, just like this, and 2 outside pieces like this. Then what you're going to do is you're going to make a little loop with your rightmost string. And then you're going to do the same thing with the leftmost string. So it kind of almost looks like a little circle here with your 2 strings in the middle. Your left one, on the other hand, is going to go under the 2 strings. So it comes and it goes under these 2 middle ones. Okay? So you have 1 on top, 1 on bottom. It doesn't matter what side you start with. Then you're going to take your right string, and it is going to go through this hole right here. And you're going to go ahead and feed that all the way through. Then your bottom string is going to come up through, and you're going to feed that all the way through. And you see that? So that's what we're going to have at the end. So as long as you have one that goes under and one that goes on top, and you feed them both through, then what you're going to do is you're going to pull it tight. And don't worry if these bunch up on you. You can always just pull them a little bit tighter if they come up. So do you see that? I just pulled it up. I just helped it along its way. And this is your first knot. And it is called a left knot, because this little portion right here, this little bulge right here, is on the left-hand side. So, and then what we are going to do is we're actually going to continue to do the same side. So we took the right-hand side and we put it on top, and we take the left-hand side and we put it underneath. So it's exactly the same motion. And then we are going to do the same thing. So the one on the right hand goes through the loop. The one on the left, you pull from underneath. And then pull tight. So there you go, your second stitch. This is actually going to create a spiral. So this is the ones that are going to look almost like a strand of DNA.
Okay, everybody, I'm just going to do a
turn.
voiceover right here. So in this particular area, we're just going to keep doing the same knot that I just showed you. It's the same thing. So I continue to have the right knot, or the right string, sorry, on top and the left one on the bottom, and you just pull tight. And eventually the two middle strings and the outside will actually start to turn like a spiral. And then you just go ahead and decide how many you want, how many knots on each arm that you want. You can go all the way down if you really wanted, or you could just, you know, do two. It's up to you. So here you guys can see that I just start on my second arm here. I just tend to put the first one out of the way and the other remaining strings on the other side so that they don't get mixed up. And I just continue to do the same knot. So like I said in the beginning, it's way easier than it seems. And then I just, once again, continue to keep working on all the different arms. So I finished the second arm, now I'm working on the third, and I ended up actually doing 14 knots on each arm. So, and then what I end up doing is I end up deciding that for my next knot, I am going to actually leave some space between the two. So it's the same exact knot, and instead of just pulling it tight, I left it a little bit loose so that there's a cool looking space between. And then instead of going ahead and doing, you know, right on top, left on bottom, you're going to, the second time around, to do a full stitch knot, you are going to actually do left on top and right on bottom. And that's going to give you that, you know, straighter stitch. It's not going to turn. So say that you didn't want to do the spiral, you can always do this. You basically just alternate what string goes on top, what string goes on bottom. It's very simple. And then from here, I just do all 4 arms at the same length. So I just kind of hold them all next to each other and make sure that they look like they're at least in the same, you know, vicinity of one another. So then here you're going to move your planter, your hanging planter, to a door so that it actually hangs at this point, because this part is way easier when it's actually hanging from something. What you're going to do is you're going to take the outer 2 strings of 2 arms. So you got to make sure that they're from different arms. You don't want 2 strings from each arm that are from the same arm. And then you're going to do the same knot. You're going to just do right on top, left on bottom, and then left on top, right on bottom. And you're going to basically make a little net for your pot to sit in. And you just decide at the beginning, as I showed, that you're just going to put your pot in and decide where you think that the knot would look best on your pot. So now I have all 4 arms done, and I'm just placing my pot back in to the net and just seeing that, you know, they're all even, they're all where I want them to be, because you can always move them, you can just undo the knot. And then this is actually, you know, the really easy part. We're going to do the same starting, I guess, knot that we did at the very beginning. So you're going to go cut a, you know, little tiny piece, you don't need it to be big, and then you're going to follow the same instructions that I gave at the beginning, and that will make your macrame hanger and it will be complete. And like I said, you're just going to end up snipping off the little ends, which you can see I'm doing here, and then you're all done. It just sits in there perfectly. And this one I actually ended up adding a plate to once it's hanging so that it you know, I can put a real plant in it and it won't ruin my floor. So, I mean, it's really a lot simpler than people think it is, and it looks beautiful, and I'm so excited to see you guys in my next video. I hope you enjoy these small little clips of them actually hanging and with plants in them. So don't forget to like and subscribe. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!